Greetings, students, and welcome to the Library of Monsters. Today, we're going to plunge back into the golden age of science fiction cinema. It's in the late 50s now, and the Cold War paranoia was continuing its climb. Couple that with audiences' interest in the unknown worlds of space and the atomic bomb, many filmmakers found a whole range of interesting topics of which to base their stories on. Many original and tension-gripping movies crawled their way into the theaters around the country. It was a new dawn, the inception of a brand new age that found its humble beginnings from one of mankind's most questionable inventions. If it wasn't for the splitting of the atom, if not for atomic weapons, we would never have the writings of Clarke and Asimov. We wouldn't have the classics of early Hollywood that helped shape an entire generation of directors. It's certainly a morbid thought, but an interesting one when you stop and think about the plethora of twists and turns that history has made in the last 100 years. Nevertheless, let's put that alien reflection aside and focus on today's monster, or rather I should say, alien. Today's beast will be the magnetic Cyclops from the 1959 B-movie, The Atomic Submarine. Now that really isn't the monster's name, they just sort of call it Cyclops in the film. A bland title if you ask me, and a very common name. If I ever did another episode/book about a Cyclops monster, say from the Roger Corman movie or Sinbad outing, I would rather not have multiple episodes that have the same name for a monster. So I just took a defining quality with the alien and slapped a title in it. Just roll with it, folks. So the film starts out with an opening narrative that tells the audience how the fictional world works. Atomic cargo ships are common vehicles to move materials through the shipping lanes that are beneath the polar ice caps. I'm not too sure why any country would want to make a detour to the North Pole in order to get their goods from one point to another. Basic high school geometry told me that the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. But this is a movie about a UFO that swims underwater, so let's forget any pretenses of logic for a while. And speaking of UFO, the Cyclops craft moves from out of the shadows of its underwater cave and attacks the USAS Sturgeon, a cargo liner that unfortunately was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. The alien lashes out with bolts of lightning and ends up destroying the vessel with very little effort. It's honestly a pretty good opening, I will admit. It's effective and keeps a shadow upon the deadly alien. All you really see is that glowing eye. So I will greatly applaud the director for this choice. Unfortunately, that praise is not going to be long lasting. The next half hour of the film is filled with padding. Long padding. It's just a lot of older gentlemen talking about the aircraft in vague language. It's supposed to convey the dire emergency that the closing of the shipping lanes could cause. And just by chance, these men are discussing this in the Bureau of Arctic Defense War Room. I love how it's clearly labeled. It's like an Adam West Batman show. Anywho, the military men come to the conclusion that the Atom Killer sub, the Tiger Shark, is the only hope for the entire world. One ship. Just one ship is all they can come up with. Talk about putting all your eggs in one basket. I mean, the Cyclops craft has destroyed almost half a dozen polar atom subs while they're getting this Hail Mary plan together. And yes, I already know, there's a ton of things in this movie that is labeled with the word atom. Again, just roll with the times. So we cut to more exposition and more padding. We, the audience, soon learn who the three main characters will be in the film. And they are very stereotyped characters. You have the highly intelligent, liberal young man, Dr. Carl Nelson, who wants the world only to have peace, failing to understand that in real life there is true evil, like the Nazis, that cannot be reasoned with, and that war is sometimes an answer for those horrid questions that hang about our world. It's basically the good son and the warmongering father type of attribute. Next, you have the bland and very stoic Commander Dan Windover, a man that never buckles under the heat of the moment. He commands the Tiger sub, and in my honest opinion, is the only real likable character in the film. And then you have his first mate, the Lieutenant Commander Richard Reef Holloway. He is a womanizer, but he does have a strong character when it comes to doing his military duties. Unfortunately, he sort of comes off like an ass, because he constantly comes in conflict with Dr. Nelson. He knew the young man's father and finds it insulting that his son is bearing all his work on the atomic subs with his hippie peace convictions. While I do find myself agreeing with Commander Reef, I find his forwardness and bullish-like behavior to be bothersome. He comes off like a bully, which doesn't really make a lot of sense. Because of the film's context, they're all trying to work together to save the planet from a force that is destroying submarines and killing tons of people. You mean to tell me he can't put aside his differences in order to accomplish the military task at hand? I don't know. I find it to be convoluted and trying to add some unneeded drama to the film that should have had its drama based around mankind fighting against the celestial forces that threaten our very world. And if it seems like I'm talking more about the humans than the alien, it's because there's a very good reason for that. The alien doesn't really do anything of significance till around the last 20 minutes of the movie. Most of the film is built around the tiger shark chasing the UFO underwater. And I mean, look at this map. Holy crud, it's like a Looney Tunes sketch. The UFO lashes out of vessels and then retreats back to the pole. All the while, the submarine is in tow, close behind. It's like the worst game of tag ever. They actually managed to catch it once, but the alien craft pummeled them with its electrical storms, pushing them back and allowing it to continue on its merry little destructive way. It's not until an embarrassing long amount of time, the film actually says over a month, that the exposition scientists on the tiger shark come up with the theory that the Cyclops needs to return to the polar caps in order to recharge its batteries. So the only real answer is to let Cyclops destroy another ship and then try to put themselves in its path when it's making its way back to the North Pole. The film does touch upon the morality of their decision though. They don't simply gloss over that the men, in fact, are sacrificing lives in order to end the alien threat. Casualties of war, I guess. Soon they spring their trap upon Cyclops and attack the craft with their torpedoes. Unfortunately, the torpedoes prove to be quite ineffective. The magnetic energy of the saucer causes one of the weapons to miss. The second is caught in mid-flight in a gel-like extrusion that the alien ship had begun to pump out from the tiny portals on its underside. In dismay, the captain ordered the tiger shark to ram Cyclops in an effort to end the alien threat, even with their own lives. It's a questionable tactic, but one that really had to be done when you look at the situation at hand. Regrettably, the move proves to be a failure as well. The shark gets stuck in the ship and sinks to the bottom of the sea. The crew come together to form a plan to use a lungfish to carry a small group of men over to the UFO, get inside and cut the atom sub away. Oh yeah, the lungfish. I forgot about that. Well, this is basically a diving bell. Except this diving bell has the ability to latch on to other ships and allow men to transport back and forth between it and their destination. Commander Reef, along with 3 other individuals that be used as death fodder, get inside the Cyclops and try to cut their ship away. But strange things begin to occur. The commander is lured away by a telepathic call, while 2 of the other men perish in really painful and awful ways. One is cooked alive and the other is squeezed to death in a door. Now we're at that part of the movie for the big reveal. What manner of occupant could possibly be dwelling within this calamitous vessel? Commander Reef approaches a huge orb and peeks inside and glimpses a vision of the alien that's killed hundreds of people in its wrath. This is the Cyclops alien, a single-eyed beast that moves about within a single-eyed vessel. He is a scout ship that scours the universe for potential worlds. He collects specimens and brings them back in order for them to be experimented upon. The aliens will actually modify their own DNA based on what they learn from the life forms that they are studying and use it to live on their world that they want to invade. Evolution is pretty much thrown out the window. Needless to say, the good commander has not wanted anything to do with this Cyclops octopus. He uses his pistol and destroys the beast's eye, killing it. Or so he thought. He manages to escape back into the ship, through the lungfish, and tells his captain of all the twaddle that went down. As he's doing this, the alien ship pulls free and tries to flee. It is revealed that the alien ship is actually a living entity that is able to heal not only itself, but its pilot as well. Sorta sounds like the Leviathan race and the pilot relationship that was used as a cornerstone element in the television series of Farscape, doesn't it? Anywho, the tiger shark fires an ICBM at the UFO as it is trying to get into Earth's atmosphere. The threat is destroyed and the Doctor and Commander Reef reconcile. They both agree that there's no room for passiveness when it comes to tyrannical world-threatening aliens. So, what do we get with this B-movie villain? Well, surprisingly we get a lot. Which is a testament to the story, because the alien's not really shown to be all that active on the screen all that much. It just goes to show you that good storytelling can go a long way if it's done correctly. Let's look at the other 2 criteria of this monster, since we've just finished with its history. First, the design. I'm going to admit, I love this design. I thought it was really thinking outside the box. Given a similar feature to that of its ship might seem like a cop-out, but I found it to be rather disturbing. People generally feel a bit of fear or anxiety when they view human-like features that are out of proportion, or on something that's not really human. It's the act of taking something familiar, and then in turn, making it more alien and unnatural. It's one of the reasons why big-headed great aliens and saucer stories are so frightening. It's also why the 1932 film Freaks has become the controversial cult that it is nowadays. I'm not saying that there are people with giant eyes, or that they are the monster themselves in that movie. Far from it. What I'm saying is the film took the belief of Da Vinci's ideal man and turned it on its head by hiring actors that had physical deformities. People that were trustworthy and heroes of the film, rather than the 2 normal people that were the real monsters in the movie. It's stated very early in the Atomic Submarine film, by the construal scientists, that the alien must be aquatic in nature, because of its ship's ability to move about underwater. And indeed, its design echoes this quality. Every facet of this monster's construction just screams deep sea dweller. And in the way that it's Frankenstein together, it's a bit more thought-provoking than other aliens, say like Virus from Gamera. The lower half is a pile of twisting tentacles that writhe about a mass of hair and barnacles. You don't even need to be a marine biologist to get those subtle homages there. An octopus, a yeti crab, and a host of barnacles. And yes, I know the yeti crab wasn't discovered until 2005, but let's just say the producers of the film had a crystal ball and foresaw this unusual animal's discovery. The alien's only other feature is a huge eye that sits upon its stalk-like body. It's not human, but does retain enough familiarity to it for the audience to latch onto. It never blinks and conveys the hostile intentions of the alien. The voice in which they add to this singular orb does help in the convergence, I will admit. It's corny, but for the time, it worked. Now, the alien's motives and personality are lacking a bit, I will admit. Because this is a B-movie for younger audiences, having a complex character for an alien was not really in the cards. It's your stereotypical brouhaha type of invader. An evil alien that wants to conquer the Earth for his race because of their insecurities of power. His omnipotence, though, is done differently than most of the aliens of this time. Most creatures, like Earth vs. the Flying Saucer and War of the Worlds, beat the Earthlings into outright submission or extinction. These aliens, though, rather go about through more subterfuge-like methods that would be comparable to Invasion of the Body Snatchers and Invaders from Mars. They want to replace the dominant form of life on Earth, us, with their own modified versions. Again, this goes into that whole Red Scare thing that was used in many thematic undertones. These one-eyed creatures are so desperate for living space for their own kind that they're willing to sacrifice their very own virtues and idiosyncrasies that make them, them. Survival at all costs is the factor that drives them. Their minds are the only thing that matters to them. That power is the only thing that matters in the universe. Everything else is just inconsequential. So now that brings us to the part of the show where we take all these different puzzle pieces and try to factor a rating with them. History, design, and personality are all very important when it comes to the remembrance of a character. And that's why I feel that 4 stars is more than a fair rating for him. I admit, at first glance, there's not a whole lot there. It's just a single-eyed monster with tentacles. Hardly something that's original nowadays. Heck, even Kang and Kodo sort of look like this alien. But the nice touches of sea life that are incorporated in piece into its design really help sell this character. Not to mention its electric personality. Making the creature have only one eye and be able to cast bolts of lightning wasn't just a coincidence. The Roman epic poet, Virgil, describes a story of Zeus releasing 3 Cyclopses from the primal dark pits of the hellish Tartarus. The Cyclopses are builders and craftsmen. They forged Zeus's thunderbolts, Hades' helmet of invisibility, and Poseidon's trident. The gods then use these weapons to defeat the tyrannical titans and lay claim of lordship over all creation. There's no helmets or tridents in the film, but there is thunderbolts. So it's a nice little tie-in to actual mythology. It's done tactfully and not really browbeating with its symbolism. Something that I can't say for a lot of films nowadays. Add all this with a smoothed out baritone voice and you got yourself a pretty cool little guy. Not great, but it's about average. Really what holds him down is the film. It's a bit drawn out and uneventful at times. So 4 stars? I think that's a pretty good score. He might not be all that popular with sci-fi fans, but I'll always remember him. I hope you've enjoyed the episode and maybe learned a thing here and there. If you liked the video, give a thumbs up because, it really helps. And if you really like it, tell some of your friends. If you agree or disagree with me, that's okay. Feel free to write what you think in the comments down below. Tell me what you would have given the monster for a rating and why. Now before I give my usual ending here, I want to leave you with a quote from Einstein himself. We already touched upon the fact that the film was born because of the atomic age, whether you agree with the invention or not. But I find his quote to be especially influential as it was back then, as it can be inferred today. The release of the atom power has changed everything except our way of thinking. The solution to this problem lies in the hearts of mankind. If only I had known, I should have become a watchmaker. Quoted from Albert Einstein. Are these the remorseful words from a man that wished he had chosen a different path in life? Who really knows for sure? But for now, this book is finished and the library is closed. Until next time, have fun, stay safe, and I'll catch you on the flip side.